Hey everyone, this is David Brown with the migration update for April 1st, 2023 from the Braddock Bay Hawk Watch. Well, we survived March and we had great weather to start off April. I started out at the Braddock Bay East Spit at sunrise with my friends Kim and Greg. It was a warm morning with sunny skies and southwesterly winds, perfect for a morning flight. Here's a male wood duck. Here's a horned grebe sitting not too far out on Lake Ontario. I had my first eastern phoebe of the season. And then we actually had two eastern phoebes chasing each other, and they flew in and perched for us for a few minutes. And when phoebes perch, they like to bob their tail up and down, so that's cool to watch. Here's a male northern shoveler. Notice that huge honkin' bill. We had a few eastern meadowlarks. Here's a male green-winged teal. And here's a nice comparison between the male green-winged teal on the right and the female on the left. We had really good numbers of robins and blackbirds migrating, including some rusty blackbirds like we see here. You can see that light-colored eye, as well as the distinctive shape to the tail, along with the rusty coloration up near the head. This immature great black-backed gull flew in and perched for us. And this early cliff swallow was a nice highlight. And you may remember that I had a cliff swallow all the way back on March 2nd that was just insanely early for this area. And even this one, a month later, got flagged by eBird as being early. I got over to the Hawk Watch platform around 9 a.m. just in time for a big turkey vulture flight to take off. And actually, I stayed down beside the platform because the winds had really started to pick up by that point. It was a strong southwest to west-southwest wind, and the skies were quite blue. You might even say blue skies of death. We prefer when there's a little bit of cloud layer to help with spotting. We had this female red-bellied woodpecker fly by, and we know it's a female because the orange does not extend on top of the head. It's just on the forehead and the back of the neck. On a male, this red or orange would extend all the way across the top. And in this photo, we can see why it's called a red-bellied woodpecker. You can see the reddish coloration on the belly here. Here we have a male American kestrel, and we know it's a male because of the spotting on the breast. And notice that when the tail is closed on male kestrels, you can't see any of that orange coloration that you see when the tail is spread. And here's a female American kestrel where we see more of a streaking on the underside rather than those dots. This immature bald eagle was flying around with a nice big fish. Here we have an adult sharp-shinned hawk, and I often say that sharp-shinned hawks have a squared-off tail, but some of them even have a bit of a notched tail, especially males. Here's another look at an adult sharp-shinned hawk, so we can see that small head, and the eyeball looks a bit big and cute because the head is small. You can see that really squared-off tail tip, and looks like it may even have a full crop, which would be this bulge here, indicating that it ate recently. Here's a look at the upper side of a belted kingfisher, and notice how large the bill is on kingfishers. Here we have a northern harrier high overhead, so we see kind of a lanky shape, very long wings that have somewhat pointed wingtips, long tail, and this appears to be an adult female because of the amount of streaking on the breast and even down lower. Here we have an adult red-shouldered hawk high overhead, so we can see that orange coloration throughout the underside, along with some black and white in the wings and tail. You can get a little hint of those translucent crescents near the wingtip. And if we look at the overall shape, it just looks a little more slender and longer-tailed than something like a red-tailed. It remained sunny throughout the morning, but as we got into the afternoon, some clouds started to roll in ahead of an approaching storm, and that really shut the flight down even before the rain arrived. And as we looked at the sky off to the southwest, it started to get quite dark, and eventually I had to bail to the car as that rainstorm moved in and shut the flight down for about an hour and a half. As we got around 4:45 to 5 o'clock, the sky was starting to clear as the clouds moved out. The sun started to come back out, and actually that launched a pretty big Raptor flight for the afternoon. The first raptor that I saw get back up was this adult bald eagle. Once I saw that, I moved back over to the platform and figured I'd get some late day hawk watching in, even though at this point it was already after 5 o'clock, which would be the normal ending time. But I figured I'd stay until 6. But in reality, I ended up staying until around 7 because the flight was so good. We're right in the peak of the turkey vulture migration, and we had about 1,000 of them in the morning. And we were surprised here at the end of the day that we had a huge push of them trying to get through ahead of another storm that was approaching. It went from seeing a few vultures to saying, oh, here comes a group of 10, to looking out on the horizon and seeing tons of them coming this way. And it was a bit hard to capture, but since they were coming straight at us pretty low, it was almost like you were looking through layers of turkey vultures, because you would see the close ones, then the medium distance ones, and then way off behind them, really distant ones. Just as far back as you could see, the horizon was covered with turkey vultures. In that late day counting from around 5 p.m. to 6:45, we had 950 turkey vultures. And the vast majority of those were right around 6 p.m. I would say from about 5:50 until 6:25 or so. That's when we had the vast majority come through. So that was a lot of fun to experience because they were coming close, low, and fast. We were surprised that we hadn't had any sandhill cranes since we've been getting them almost every day, and we had good southwest winds today. And finally, we had a couple show up at the end of the day. We had a single one, and then we had this pair. And here's one more look at the pair of sandhill cranes as they came directly overhead. And I ended up leaving the platform around 6:30 p.m. as the second rainstorm was moving in, but I continued to count a little bit from my car. Even when the rain had started, there were a few vultures moving on the parkway side. If we take a look at the eBird checklists from the East Spit in the morning, had 60 species. And from the Hawkwatch platform, 67 species today. And looking at the HawkCount report for our migrant raptor totals, today we had 1,985 turkey vultures, 2 osprey, 23 bald eagles, 23 northern harriers. For accipiters, we had 26 sharp-shinned hawks and 12 Cooper's hawks. For buteos, we had 25 red-shouldered hawks, 68 red-tailed hawks, and 1 light morph rough-legged hawk. And finally, for falcons, we had 16 kestrels, 2 merlins, and 1 peregrine falcon, for a grand total of 2,184 migrant raptors today. I had 2 new species for the season today, which were Eastern Phoebe and Wilson's snipe. And taking a look at the forecast for tomorrow, it's looking mainly sunny with a high of only 36, winds north-northwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour. So this is very similar to a couple days ago, where it's a nice sunny day, but it's on the cool side, especially with the winds coming out of the northwest. So we didn't do too well the other day. I think we had about 150 turkey vultures. So you get kind of this slow trickle of vultures and a few other things here and there. But I would expect tomorrow to be kind of similar to that day. So I expect light migration. But we are in the peak of the turkey vulture migration, so you never know. But I wouldn't have extremely high expectations. For Monday, we're looking at considerable cloudiness with occasional rain showers in the afternoon, high up near 60, winds southwest at 15 to 25 miles per hour. So Monday's looking pretty good. Those are great winds. The wind speed is pretty good. If they're more on the strong end, again, it makes it a little bit uncomfortable. We might have to get off the platform. But the cloudy skies, sometimes that holds the flight back a little bit if there's no thermals, but with strong southwest winds, the birds should be flying regardless, and the cloudy skies make it easier for us to spot the birds. So looking forward to having a good day on Monday. And for Tuesday, looking at showers in the morning and then cloudy in the afternoon, high in the low 40s, winds northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. So those are not favorable winds, so I would expect very little migration on Tuesday. All right, it was a very long day from starting at sunrise at the East Spit and going all the way until nearly 7 p.m. at the Hawkwatch platform. But you only get so many days of southwest winds in the spring, so you have to make the most of them. And it's interesting the sort of stages of the day, from going to the East Spit first thing and having kind of lighter winds, or at least we were sheltered from the wind and doing the morning flight, then getting out to the Hawk Watch with really strong winds and a big turkey vulture flight picking up and sunny skies and a lot of visitors, to most of the visitors leaving and the flight slowing down, and then it was raining and I was in the car for an hour and a half. And actually at that point, that was like 3:30. So doing the math in my head, it's like, okay, well, if this rain lasts an hour, that'll be 4:30 by the time it even stops raining. And what are the odds it's going to clear up? But I made the decision to stay, and I'm really glad I did, because like I said, the sun started to pop out at 4:45, 5 o'clock, and it launched a massive turkey vulture flight, which I think was maybe the best raptor flight that we've had so far this season, in terms of having really close views of the birds. A lot of times we'll get big numbers, like the other day when we had 4,000 turkey vultures, but they're all way off in the distance. That's a little bit less satisfying, but to have this kind of surprise big turkey vulture flight at the end of the day, I think that's something that makes hawk watching really special and exciting, that you take the chance and you stay, and sometimes you're rewarded for it. So just a really fun but long day out at the Braddock Bay Hawk Watch. And looks like Monday might be another great day. And if not, we certainly have a lot of other great days that will be coming up later on in this season. Again, we go until the end of May. So we're about 1/3 of the way through the season, and looking forward to a lot of big days coming up. From Lyco Birds, this is David Brown. Thanks for watching.